guys, welcome to Broke Teachers Travel. I'm Marnie,
And I'm Jordan.
and what are we talking about today?
This week, we're talking about savings when we're traveling.
Yes, this is our big theme at Broke Teachers Travel. This is what we do. So let's dive in. You ready?
Yep. So, the first thing that's on our list is travel flash sales, which I think you know a little bit more about than I do just because you're with
Yeah,
dad all the time.
yeah. Pay attention to those websites. There are always deals, especially around different holidays. I know today Jeff was on his phone we were traveling somewhere. He was on his phone and he was scrolling through and he said, "Whoa, there are flash deals popping up everywhere." So make sure you pay attention to those. They're usually for future dates, but you can get some pretty big savings that way.
Also, sometimes I think I've read this. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on it. But I think it can also work like if you're traveling individually, sometimes you can get it like right close to that date. That
Yeah.
thing like will pop open and it's like, oh hey, this is like $40 rather than like 200 and something. Is
Yeah.
kind of what I've seen on that, and I've seen that work, in particularly for like flights and hotels where they people have like like maybe like one night notice or something. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe I
Yeah.
want to
Like
travel somewhere.
if you're flexible and you can just pick up and go for it because you can get some awesome deals that way.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely right. And another thing that you know a little more about are the gift card deals.
Yes, I've seen this everywhere. And in fact, I'm in some travel groups like on social media and stuff, like in particularly on Facebook. And I have seen people do so well in multiple different ways. I've seen with Costco,
Yes.
like, way to go, Costco. I don't know what you're doing, but you are doing such an amazing job. There have been so many savings, just like with just different travel deals. Like I've seen them for like I don't know, just like different airlines and different like theme parks and like I mean
Gas
even like
cards,
just different like yeah, exactly. Just gas
restaurants.
cards and all that.
Yeah. And you're right. Costco seems to have a really big following when it comes to that. I wish we had
Mhm.
one in our area. We do not because they've got some great deals on that stuff.
Right. And I mean, I've even seen people save like with Target recently. I've seen people use their 5% off. I know you and I were talking about that today.
Yeah.
It's so great because with gift cards, like you even get 5% off of that. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but like if you're planning like a trip to a theme park, for example, like I see people do this with Disney all the time, is why I'm using Disney as an example.
Yeah.
But like people will go through it and I mean by hundreds of dollars, like they'll save hundreds of dollars during the year, and then they'll go buy hundreds of dollars worth of gift cards for going to Disney, but they get
Yes.
them at that discounted rate, which 5% doesn't seem like a lot. But
It
if you've
adds
got
up.
like $1,000 trip, you're saving a lot more money than what
It,
you would have
yes.
saved had you not done that.
It adds up quickly. And another thing, since you were talking about the Target gift cards, it's not just the gift cards there. That 5%, you can use that to buy travel gear. You can buy
Right.
suitcases, toiletries, clothes, anything you might need to travel. You can save that extra 5% on it, and it adds up.
Right. And you know, based off of like receipts and stuff from those places that you shop, I personally use Fetch. This is not sponsored at all, but I do use Fetch and I do love it. And I love it because you can scan your receipt and then you earn points for every receipt that you scan. I think it's like, I want to say it's like 25 points per receipt, but it takes like,
And
I don't
that's
remember.
not limited
I think
to
it's like 25,000 points to get like a $25 gift card somewhere. But it's so awesome because like you can use it on like retailers, like grocery retailers. You can use it on like just like different stores. I mean, I've seen it
yeah.
literally for everything. But I use Fetch all the time, and I'm about to get myself like a $25 Kroger gift card or an Amazon gift card to help Christmas. So, you know,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
exciting.
And like you said, you have that variety of different stores that you can use that one app with. And there are other apps out there similar
Right,
to that, but you know that one and you've used it for a long
right.
time. So that's a good one.
Mhm.
Another thing, especially right now, I mean, we are in the midst of the holiday season right now. Make sure you check the clearance items, the holiday clearance items,
Yes,
especially starting now because they're already starting to clearance some of the stuff because they need to move that out for things like, Valentine's and spring stuff that they're
right.
bringing in. So now's the time to save on things like luggage, toiletries,
Mm-hmm.
winter wear. I mean, there are so many things that you can save money on.
Oh,
And
and I
today
will say,
I saw luggage actually clearance at a Marshall's that I was at today.
right, I'll say like I know usually I think it's like right after Christmas usually and like just in December. But Ross is really, really good about clearancing winter wear. I
Yes,
know I remember I got a pair of jeans one year for like 97 cents. I do
yes.
not know
We also got an
why they
office
were
here
97
for like
cents, but I was
$5
like,
one year.
yeah, we literally, I mean, it's insane. I mean, even places like Old Navy, check the clearance because I remember like last year, I got you two really nice sweaters that I think you
Yes,
were talking about taking on your trip coming up.
yes.
Uh, for like $1.97. And I walked out of there. I'm like, Mom, you're not gonna believe this. Like, I don't even believe what's going
I
on.
know.
But check for those deals. I promise they are
They are
amazing.
there. They
You go in there not knowing
exist.
that they're gonna be there because they don't tell you that stuff. That stuff's not advertised. You have to do a little
No.
bit of digging sometimes, but I promise you those deals are there and it will save you tons of money for your trip.
You just have to be willing to dig a little bit. Another one that you might think about too, like I know Bath and Body and Victoria's Secret, because they're owned by the same company, they
Mhm.
do semi-annual sales every year. And that is a great time to stock up on your toiletries
It
because
is.
I mean, you get these gift sets that haven't sold for Christmas, and you can
Right.
that and put it in the travel size TSA approved, containers, and they're your toiletries for vacation.
Right. And I mean, also check places like Walmart and Target, just like basic stores,
Yes.
because they'll have like, I know we used to get dad like the Adidas like soap and stuff all the time,
Yeah.
and we would just put it in like a TSA size thing when we would travel. But it was so nice because we didn't have to go out and buy it at full price at the time that we were traveling, and we would
Yeah.
save specifically for that. So do keep that in mind. It is a really, really great way to save.
It is. Just be sure you grab them before they're gone. Now, that's another thing. They do go
Hmm.
quickly. So keep an eye out and make sure you grab them, fairly soon after the markdown starts because they will go fast and you want to get those and have them available.
Right.
Another thing that you wanted to hit on that you said has really piqued your interest lately is saving on basically who's traveling with you. And this is aimed mostly at kids.
Yes, I've seen, like I said, I'm in a lot of travel groups, and I've seen people say, like, they've been asking, hey, is it a waste for me to spend this money to take my child here? They're like 3, or like this child may, like, and it's not just children, I mean, it's been adults too. And they're like, well, I have like a son who has this disability. Is it a waste for them? Like, is it a waste for me to pay $300 to $800 for them to go on this trip? Absolutely not, is
It's
my answer.
never,
It is
it's
never a
never a
waste.
waste. Mm-mm.
Never. Because
If you kind of,
one, you're getting quality time with them.
yes,
Two, you are making memories with them that you will never,
absolutely.
ever, ever forget. And just because you think that they might not remember that does not mean that they will not remember
No.
that.
And
I
even if they
remember when I
don't,
was a little kid, you took me to Disney, you carried me, and we would watch the fireworks while Skip and Dad were riding Big Thunder. That
yeah,
literally never failed, never failed. I remember every second of that. If you are taking a child to a theme park, I'm pretty sure Universal does this as well as Disney, and I've seen like other theme parks do it too. But if you bring a child that's like 3 and they want to ride something that they cannot ride right now,
mhm,
if you take them to get measured and they're under that height limit, you can get a like basically like a pass to get further ahead in line
when they are ready.
whenever they're able to go. So they're
Yeah.
not waiting like they've been waiting for that experience for so long and then they can finally have it when they get there, you know?
Yes,
That's
Universal
something that
does that,
to
and
think
I
about
love
for
it.
sure.
Yeah. To me, travel is never a waste. No matter how young the child is, you are teaching them to explore the world and to love the world they're in. It's never a waste to create those memories.
I agree. And especially because it teaches kids life skills at such a young age. Like I feel like my brother and I have honestly had such great skills kind of going out into the world
Yes.
because when we were younger, we traveled a lot with y'all and it taught us one who strangers were versus good people and like to be able to communicate with other people, which was huge because I feel like a lot of the time now I mean, let's face it, it's a world full of social media, it's a world full of technology. And I think
It's a
oftentimes I see
world that
kids
was
not
shut
knowing how to
down.
communicate, you know.
It's a world that was shut down for COVID, and we've lost a lot of those communication skills. So
Right.
travel is a great way to bring those back and teach them to talk to people from different places. And you get to talk to people from different places. You can't go wrong with travel. It's life changing
Hmm.
just for everyone involved. Now, something else that I want to touch on is booking your experiences, like your excursions and things like that. When you're planning a trip, make sure you book those extra experiences far enough out,
Yes.
because you run the risk of not getting in because they're overbooked. You run the risk of paying a higher price because you've waited till the last minute. There's just so many reasons to do those ahead of time. That's a
Mhm.
big one.
And I'll say with like football tickets for one is one topic I want to hit on. Like right
Yes.
now, the football season just ended for college football, and they've already put season passes on sale. And I noticed, like, this is just one example, but my husband and his family and we all went to like a bigger football game, and we bought those tickets earlier. They would have been a lot cheaper. I speak from experience because whenever I tell you we paid like a lot of money, we were in the like midway triple digit
Yes.
situation. I will say I would have bought those tickets a little bit earlier to, count for that because
Yeah.
I did not do that. And I mean, another experience I had with this too was like if an artist releases their tour dates and they release like a limited number of cities, but you see a city you want to go to. I personally would say go ahead and buy the tickets. I know you might get upset if there's like a date that's a little bit closer to you, but something that I ran into was like I went to go see the Jonas Brothers, and I love them. I've never seen them in my whole life, but I have been a dedicated little fan since I was really, really, really little. And it meant so much to me to know that I had that set in stone for my husband and I, because that's something that was like one of the first things that we immediately bonded over was our love for the Jonas Brothers.
Yeah.
And that was so special to know that we had those tickets. But, and, like there's that trend that's like going around about girl math, here's travel math for you. Okay. Travel math is if you purchase an experience far enough in advance, is basically free by the time that you get there. Okay.
Exactly.
That's broke teachers travel logic right here.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it is. You do it far enough in advance, then it's like it's just free because you've already paid for the big portion of the trip. So
Mhm.
done. Yes.
And I think you
For
were going to
travel.
talk about this, but like with reservations, isn't there something that like you can do if you book it far enough advance, if the price changes? Isn't there something with that
Yes.
that you want to talk
I
about?
I know for a fact with Disney that if another deal comes up after you've already booked your vacation, you are welcome to call back and see if they can get you that deal. They can, not always, but a lot of times make that happen.
That
And
is so awesome.
they want to save you the money. They want to help you because they want you to continue to come back. But yeah, that's a big one, and that can be a huge money saver.
Yeah, I would say one other thing I have kind of bouncing off of that is if you are making reservations or planning a trip, account for birthdays that are occurring in your family. You gotta start checking that because I know, like, I've seen a lot of families get turned away from reservations because they're like, oh, I have a 3-year-old. Well, their birthday was yesterday and they just turned 4. Therefore, they're not under 3 anymore. So you need to
Yes.
be like
Conscious of
ready
that.
to
Yeah,
understand why there's an upcharge. And it's okay to question why is there this upcharge. And
absolutely.
most of the time people will completely be willing to like help you out with that, help you understand where that's coming from. But there's no reason to get upset if something like that does happen. But do contact them and call them in advance. ask them, if my child's turning 4 in the middle of this trip, do I book them as a 3-year-old or do I book them as a 4-year-old? Because that's going to be a completely different experience for a lot of children. And you don't
Yes.
want them to miss out on anything either. So that's really
No.
something to think about.
It absolutely is because, like you said, I mean, call and ask. It's not going to hurt anything and it'll only help you because
Mhm.
you know how to plan, how much to budget, because sometimes it makes no difference and sometimes it can make quite a bit of difference financially,
Right.
in the trip. So that's something you definitely have to look at.
Mhm.
And next thing I want to talk about is hotel points. These can be huge money savers. We're
Mhm.
talking about loyalty memberships. And most most places they're free to be a member of a loyalty club. Some have a little fee, but most are free. But it can save you a lot of money.
Oh, for sure.
Don't always have to open a credit card. A lot of them you don't. It can literally just be you signing up, giving them your email, and they'll send you deals. And when you bank so many nights with them, you've earned points and then you get free nights or other perks that way. And that can be huge when you're trying to pay for a big trip. But if
Mhm.
say you travel for business a lot and you start banking those points, then that can save you a huge amount of money when you get ready to go on vacation.
Right. And another thing that I would like to mention about hotels is checking places like Priceline and hotels.com.
Yes.
I know that when my husband and I were traveling to Nashville, I got a hotel for like $97 a night. And I waited, do not wait as long as I did. Like we got our hotel for like $97 a night. And like something I kind of learned based on booking on like places like Priceline and hotels.com is I wouldn't do this everywhere, but like we stayed at a hotel that was labeled like it was at the airport. But funny enough, I mean, like it was close to the airport, but it was also still far enough away from it. We didn't hear all the noise of the airplanes like taking off and landing. It was actually super quiet, super peaceful, like one of the most peaceful hotels I've ever slept in, which did not expect that. I mean, for it being right beside the airport, I
Yeah.
would never have guessed that. But it was so awesome because like one, it was cheap, but two, it was like really, I mean, and it like on Priceline, it'll tell you this too. But like the distance to where we were going to see them was so close.
It was
And
convenient.
yeah, it was really, really nice. And like sometimes I will say this too, it might be worth paying a little bit more or a little bit less, depending on what that distance is. And I would check that, like, see where your hotel is located from whatever destination you were going to.
Yes, because that can be big. Like
Oh,
on
for
our
sure.
upcoming trip, we were super excited to find out that the hotel we were booking is right in the center of the city. So we're gonna
Mhm.
be within walking distance to almost everything.
That
And
is so awesome.
I mean, that's major when you're in a walkable city because then you're not having to pay for a taxi or anything like that. You can just get out and walk wherever you want to go,
Mhm.
you know, and that can save quite a bit of money that way.
Right.
Taxis and Ubers are expensive in a lot of places.
Mhm.
But back to real quick before I forget, we were talking about the hotel loyalty points and things. I know that for a fact that two of the major hotels, Hilton and Holiday Inn, both offer something like that. And we have
Yes.
seen those in action. We
Mhm.
have people that we know we're close to that use those, and they are legitimate loyalty programs. They really do
Yes.
work. We have
Mhm.
seen that. We're not endorsed by them in any way, but we've just watched friends of ours and family members use that, and they really do work.
Right. And to save money and stress this holiday season, not
Oh,
just this holiday
yes,
season, year
you're
round,
around.
I've got 3 things that I would just love to share with y'all. One, get your passport early. You don't want to have to pay for all the expedited stuff. You
Mhm.
also need to make sure that it's up to date. Everything that I am telling you needs to make sure that you are up to date on and make sure it's not expiring in the middle of your trip or anything like that. Because when you get to another country, they're not as relaxed about it.
And most of the time, most countries require it to be you have an extra 6 months on there when you travel. So
Mhm.
keep that in mind as well. You can't
Right.
travel with it being at, oh, it will expire right after my trip. No, you still have to have 6 months availability on it for a lot of places. So
Mhm.
be aware of that. A lot of people do not realize that. I did not realize that for a long time. And Jeff was like, hey, did you know? And I'm like, oh, no, I did not know that. But that is very important information.
Mhm. And also, like, not just making sure that it's early, also make sure, like, the information's correct on it, because I remember you asked me right after I got married, "Do I have a passport in case I wanna go somewhere?" And I'm like, "Yeah," but then I realized, 1, my last name had changed because I had gotten married.
Mhm.
2, I was a child when I got that, which means whenever I turned 18, that's no longer a valid passport either way,
Right.
1 by last name and 2 by age. So that's
Yeah.
really important, and I
And
mean
address.
right, oh, yes, and address too. And I will say I've seen a lot of, like, influencers and stuff run into this issue recently, but make sure you have a visa if you need a visa, because I have seen I mean, I cannot tell you how many people I've seen recently that have not had them, did not know that they needed them, and I mean, getting a visa from my understanding is a little bit faster than going through the passport
It
process,
is. It is. And
but that you
some
need
of
to make sure
them,
you have that.
you can actually even get there at the airport. So
Mhm.
most of the time they're pretty quick, but allow yourself a couple of weeks turnaround just to be safe.
Right.
That's important. And that's something else to know. Right now with passports, there is a big delay. So
Mhm.
plan for that. Allow several months to get a new one because I'm seeing 11 to 12 weeks minimum. So
Mhm.
keep that in mind when you're trying to get a new one.
Right, and do the same thing for your ID. I know that one seems like common sense, but I've also seen a lot of people, like, whenever my husband and I were traveling, I saw somebody with an expired ID, and they were like, "Well, I can't get in here," because I mean, 1, somebody probably thought it was fake. I mean, that's an
Yep.
obvious suspicion that can happen with that, but make sure that it is up to date and make sure that it's not expired, because they will check that at certain places, like, whenever you're traveling overseas, they will check your ID. So
Yes.
that is something very, very important to keep in mind just because you don't want to run into that issue. And it's hard once you leave the US, it's a lot harder to get something if you're overseas.
And
That
along
goes
those
for any
same
country.
lines, just a stress related issue here to, kind of help you relieve some of that stress. Take pictures of it with your phone, your
Mhm.
passport and your ID, any important information, all your booking information. Take pictures of that. And then
Right.
email them to yourself and to someone trusted back home, just in case anything were to happen. We've known people who have misplaced or lost their passports. It helped a lot to get them back home. It's
Right.
super important. So make sure you keep that in mind because that can be a huge amount of stress if you're not prepared to deal with it.
Right. And I mean, like I was like, saying dad, his wallet situation that happened in Orlando that one time.
Yes.
Um, make sure that you have access to your birth certificate, your marriage license, all of those things. Have somebody with them at all times because we literally sat there for hours trying to get a hold of
Yes.
his birth certificate because I don't think anybody was home that could get to it.
No,
And
we were all in Orlando.
yeah, and so it was a little bit not a little bit, it was a very big struggle. So even making sure that whoever that trusted person is has a copy of that. Also make sure just because I mean, we don't know with just technology today, things can be tampered with and all of that.
Yes.
Make sure that they have like a printed copy of that. That was something that has been big for me since I got married. I've had to use my marriage license a lot to change a lot of things. And like if I get questioned like, hey, well, why is your last name different? Why is this different? When
Yeah.
did you get married? You get interrogated when that stuff happens. And
Especially
it's
being
out
in
of it's out
college.
of a safety precaution, but like it's
Yeah.
something very important. So make sure like I made sure that my mom has a copy of it.
Make sure you have those important documents, pictures of them, have them in a safe place, leave copies with trusted people,
Mhm.
and that can be a huge stress reliever when you're traveling. In the back of your mind that everything is safe and that everything
Right.
is okay.
And really quick, I do want to add this as well. Make sure that when you're traveling, you have your social security card with you. If not your card, your number. because that is something that I have realized is very important. I make sure personally that my husband knows where the file is on my phone with all my important documentation. And that's something too. If you have like health needs or anything like that, make sure that somebody has a copy of those things for medical emergencies, anything like that, because one, it'll save you time. Two, if you're not in a place where they have like free healthcare when you're traveling, it will save you tons of money if they bill that and your insurance is on there versus when it's not. I can assure you of that. So that is just something that I really, really do stress. Make sure all those important documents, you have a copy of them, somebody at home has a copy of them, and that they are, if you have a copy on you, that they are tucked away somewhere that somebody cannot find them.
Yes, that is super important. Well, I guess that's going to do it for this episode. I've loved hanging out, talking just basic travel stuff, how to save money, how to de-stress when you're traveling. I love
Mhm.
I love talking travel with
It's
everybody.
so much fun. Be
And
sure to drop comments down below if
yes,
you have
that's what I
any
was going to say.
questions. And make sure you're liking, following us on social media. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Be sure to stay tuned because we're doing 12 days of travel. So
Yes,
we've got 12 different travel locations, sometimes more depending on
destinations.
the day. So just stay tuned for that. We've got some fun old pictures from just different times. Like we've got some from when my dad was a kid, and we've got some from whenever I was a kid. So, been quite a while for some
Yeah,
people.
it's a
So
lot of
there's
fun.
not too much,
So
but
follow us on social media because that's where we're posting all of that. Follow along.
right.
It's a lot of fun.
Mm,
And it remember, drop us a comment. We want to know where you guys are going. We want to know if
yes.
you're planning your next trip because we want different ideas too. We want to know where you've been or where you're going that you think is really cool. Share it
Right.
with us. And remember,
Remember.
like and subscribe our channel so you don't miss anything.
Mhm.
And follow us on our website, broketeacherstravel.com,
And remember, break the monotony.
not the bank. Bye, guys.
Bye.